Welcome to another episode of Inquiring Minds. I'm your host, Steve Harper, and with me, as always, is the amazing, incredible Donna Carlin. Donna, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this conversation. What are we talking about today?
So it's a little bit complicated, but that's never
Oh
stopped us
boy,
before, right? Yeah,
you always concern me when we start off this way.
I know.
like,
I do that on
oh,
purpose just to get you
trouble
going.
up ahead, trouble up ahead.
Well, you know that's my middle name, so
Oh
we'll go
yeah, I
there.
do. I do. Professional troublemaker, right? Pot
Yes,
stir.
monster. Life is like a chess game. Okay, your plan, no matter how detailed it is affected by the inclinations of others.
Yeah,
So you have to modify constantly, but to what end? It's a dance, right?
yeah,
Somebody moves one way, you move another way to either counter or move with them. And I'm not talking about the end of a chess game where somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. That's not
sure,
it.
sure.
It's that, people have roles to play and there's this intertwining of what people do, just like life, right?
Yeah.
We plan our lives to the nth degree and then life happens and sort of screws that up. So,
Oh,
and I could be, an expert on that topic.
yes, you
So,
could.
yeah. So it's looking at how everything is affected by the inclinations of others,
Yeah.
but to what end? Is it for you, for the greater good, for somebody to win and somebody to lose? Like
Hmm.
that's the core piece behind this. When you take action based on a reaction, then you're moving towards somebody winning and somebody losing.
Yeah.
When you take action to respond, then there's many different opportunities open to you and to the other individuals, of course. And so to keep in mind, like we discussed last week, you're doing something for the sake of what? Like what's the why behind
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
And in this case, it's how do you make those decisions, moves, dance with whatever is thrown your way, keeping in mind that why, that desired end result, and hoping, and I'm going to get beyond hope in a moment, hoping that the other person who's also moving is moving towards that common shared desired outcome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's complicated.
It is complicated. I think there are a couple of things to unpack there, right? That last point that you just made is how how clear have you been about where you're going and what you want to do, and the people that are around you, whether they work for you or work with you, or they're a collaborative partner or whatever the situation might be. How on board are they with what that end game potentially might be? Because that impacts how they're strategically aligning and doing their efforts to support your efforts. And so part of that is really key. And I think before you ever get there, as a leader or as a just trying to do the best job you can. You could just be a worker bee trying to do the very best work that you can. But you need to be pretty clear about what your goal and outcome is as well, and take the time to stop and understand that and appreciate it. And I often find, and you and I have different clients that we've worked with in the past that I know have encountered these situations where they've run into an impasse, or they feel like they're frustrated, or they're blocked in their career, or they're they've just kind of reached an end point, but they don't know where to go next. And it's because they have failed to really embrace and understand where their situation is now and what the potential of it might be, or where it could be. But most of these things, they're not really, they're not planning, they're not understanding, how important it is to create that life or career plan for themselves. So they feel frustrated, they feel like they're stuck, and then they're stuck in that chess game of life, where instead of proactively moving their pieces around to impact and make progress, they're really left to the devices of the world, which is your opponent. And then it really does become adversarial, right? It is a win
For
lose,
sure.
game. And a lot of people feel like they're losing at that game. So, kind of that failure to have an understanding and an appreciation of where you want to go, what you want to do, and how you want to get there. That strategy, I think, has to be in play. And then ultimately, how open and available, you have created, that plan for everybody that is around you that's there potentially to support you or to, to at least help you get to that next level.
That's it. And it's also asking yourself, how is what this person's bringing to the table, which is like, it could have blindsided you, it could surprise you, all of that.
Hmm.
Often that's because you didn't think of it or you didn't consider it. So, how is what they're doing positively or negatively impacting what you have to do? And asking that question on a regular basis, we look at that in what we call the SWOT on steroids, right? You do
Yeah.
the SWOT, but how is what's in your control, what's outside your control? Speaking of that chess game, and how is it positively or negatively impacting the work that I have to do? You could be doing extraordinary work that has negative impact on something else.
Yeah.
We see that, on a regular basis. We could look at that for climate change, for all kinds of things that people
Oh
do
yeah.
amazing things, but it ultimately destroys the planet. So, the desired end result has multiple influencers and influences and impacts. And being able to recognize, especially as a leader, there's a book, Leadership Can Be Taught. Um, and in that book she talks about a chessboard that a leader, for example, recognizes each player on the chessboard for their talents and strengths,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
guides them all in the direction they need to go based on their uniqueness, not everybody as a whole. So they allow them to own
I
that
love that.
player, and just guides them to where they have to go, while at the same time allowing their strengths and their talents to emerge. That is like the ultimate leader. And we need to think of that, because we don't have ultimate control of anything other than the choices that we make in our lives.
One
That's
of
it.
my all-time favorite movies is a movie Gene Hackman was in called Hoosiers. It's about a Indiana basketball team, high school basketball team, and he shows up for the first day of practice, and he kind of like puts his hands together and says, "Okay, let's see what kind of cards I've been dealt." Right, and what he really was doing was looking at the chessboard, looking at the players, and through a series of practices and activities, understanding strengths and weaknesses. Like you said earlier, for those that don't understand what a SWOT is, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, really looking at that and understanding what is the hand you've been dealt and what can I do the most efficiently to make the most out of this, right? So when you look at from a leadership perspective, and I love how you reference that book, is you really do have to look at it from what is the individual strength of all your players? What is the value that they bring to their role, their responsibility, and how do you as a leader support them to be as efficient and as effective as they possibly can be? And then when you can do that on an individual basis, the collective has real power. And for a good chess player, which I am not, but I love the game, and you know, I go out on the internet occasionally just to become humble, so that I get beat. But I realize the people that are very effective look at a number of things, right? They know a couple of the behaviors, newbie players like myself will make, and they know how to maximize that to their advantage. They know in their mind the next 2 to 5 moves that they plan to make because it's all part of the larger strategy in which they are trying to elicit an outcome. And leaders are very much the same way. You have to zoom out, look globally at what you're trying to accomplish, and then zoom back into the individual pieces, players, the roles, the responsibilities, and figure out what do I do to maximize those opportunities to get the outcome we're looking for. And then I think, to the point that you mentioned earlier about our prior podcast episode, understanding the why, but helping people understand the motivation behind what we're trying to do and getting everybody on the same page is so critical, and where they fit in the role that they play, and ultimately why as an organization we're all moving towards this direction, right? So that's why great chess players can move and never lose never lose the types of pieces on the off the board, like a player like I will almost instantly. But they have the vision, and then they know how to do the execution in order
Yeah.
to make it work.
It's interesting. I do an assessment with clients and teams. called the Core Values Index, which really shows the innate, unchanging nature of an individual. And what's amazing is once they see how somebody's hardwired, how they relate to people, ideas, situations, data, all of that, and what their default personal operating system is, that's when they could give their highest and best contribution.
Yeah.
And even more important, when you see a team makeup and you see you have X amount of these, X amount of these, well, if you let this person do their job and get everybody on board and do the visioning, then the person who's great at executing could just fly.
Just execute.
And there you go. It's exactly the different players on the chessboard. And you're not, my late mother-in-law used to say, don't make a chicken out of a duck. You're not forcing somebody who is one kind of personality to do that which is just not comfortable, easy, whatever, right? For themselves. That's why one of my first questions when I do an intake with a new client, ready for this? What do you suck at? And they look at me going, what? I go, do you want to work on what you suck at or become masterful at what you do well? Let somebody else become masterful at what you suck at. And already your team is starting to form. Oh, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the energy is, and we'll talk about this in future episodes, their energy comes to the fore because they're having fun at what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm still stuck on your mother-in-law's comment of
Don't make a
turning it
chicken out of a duck.
don't turn a chicken into a duck. I love that. I ask permission to use that in the future because I am
Oh, go for it.
it's a good homage to her for sure. So that was brilliant. What a leadership lesson right there for sure.
Yeah,
Well, this is, these conversations just get, we're just scratching the surface, right? So at the end of the day, our goal with these types of things is to get you as our audience thinking about some of these, these points that we bring up and raise. And really, Donna, how could people give us feedback on this episode? How could they become involved so that maybe we carry this episode into more of an ongoing conversation in our Facebook group?
absolutely. You should join our group. It is the whole purpose of that group is to start these conversations. And coming up soon, we're going to start having some live
Yeah.
conversations in that group so that you could be a part of them. And I think that's the power behind doing these podcasts is to get you thinking, get you sharing what you've used so that others could benefit from it. It's not just from us and our experience, it's from your experiences. And in talking about it, we just make the topic stronger and more viable for other people to use. So join our Facebook group, Inquiring Minds with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper, and let us know who you are and
Yeah.
introduce yourself and or reach out to us directly on our website. Steve could be found at ripplecentral.com. I'm at donnacarlin.com with a K. And you could email us. You could see our social media links.
Yep.
And just be a part of the conversation.
Absolutely. Well, I'll leave you with this thought. I asked somebody that really just, took me to the woodshed and cleaned my clock in a chess game. And I asked them how they had gotten so good at the game of chess. And they said, just, you know, engage other chess players and ask them, I practiced every day. I took my lumps. I learned from every match. I played continually. But at the end of the day, I learned from the other players. And that's what we're talking about with the Facebook group, right? This is an opportunity for you to come. Maybe you don't have all the answers. Maybe you do have some answers, and they will benefit and create a positive impact on somebody that might be paying attention, might be lurking, just kind of watching. But these are the types of things that we are hoping to accomplish with our community as we grow, because we want to extend it beyond the podcast in these conversations and take these into the real world so that we can really add value and benefit you wherever you need it. So, thanks, Donna, for another excellent conversation. I mean, this was a good one. Now I'm kind of hankering to go play some chess. So,
There you go.
business wise chess, right? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm gonna go make some better decisions and some better strategic start creating some better strategic initiatives. So thanks for raising this topic. It's always fun to have these conversations and I really enjoy it. Look forward to the next one.
Have a good one.